Hey, welcome back to 1547. We gobbled up Hijaz like we said we would, though we left them one province because we didn't really care about that province. This is our currently only fort just because there's some revolt risk down here, but we'll delete it. Who needs forts? We haven't gained any territory in the east, very little in the south because east and south are crap places, none in the middle. We are now fighting and completely destroying Muscovy at the same time as Nogai fights and completely destroys Muscovy. We plan to expand eastward and maybe take some stuff surrounding our new vassal of Nizhny Novgorod. We annexed Ryazan, the vassal, giving us Moskva, the 30 almost or development province, but it has so much autonomy that it'll probably be like 1700 before we get any money from it. Probably should have left it in the hands of a vassal who could have made use of it to provide us with troops instead of just gobbling it up so that now it can do nothing for us. The Ottomans finished their war for what is now called Kypros instead of Cyprus. And luckily for me, they didn't immediately attack the Mamluks. Instead, they got embroiled in a war in the east. Who do they have a truce with? Hungary, France, Genoa, and Alodia, right? I also, importantly, gobbled up the extremely rich trade estuaries of Kaffa and Azov. They have very little development, but lots of trade power. Trade power 17. Although it'll be much higher once the autonomy in these provinces is lowered. Estuaries for the win. So in order to take these two provinces, the Ottomans had to beat up France for me. They also gobbled enough space through Hungary to get a border with Austria. So I'm hoping that that border with Austria will keep them out of trouble in the east. But once they get truces with everyone on their western borders, they're going to start fabricating on Mamluk territory, and then bad things could happen. So we still got to keep an eye on them over there. It's important to note that for the past several games now, I've been playing exclusively non-mercenary infantry for my army. I have 3 cavalry and 6 artillery, but I basically have all non-mercenary infantry, which means no fighting allowed. Now, this is a play style that gets old, eventually, but for a short time, it's fun to be able to take an extremely small income. I'm only making $25 and be able to afford 55 troops. Like if you get a well-balanced army, then you can only have a pretty small one, like 30 in size. But one of my biggest concerns in this game is, 1, coalitions forming, which will slow down my expansion, and 2, the Ottomans breaking their alliance with me, which will only happen if they think that they're powerful enough to beat me. So it is one of my goals to make sure to always have exactly my force limit's worth of troops, which means that I have to use non-mercenary infantry, which are crap at fighting, but they're great at standing around in peaceful territory being like, go, troops, go fight. So that means when it's time to actually fight, you need to use mercenaries. Mercenaries are muy expensive, but you can disband them as soon as the fighting is done, so it's no big deal. You save up a couple $1,000, then lose about 500 during the war, and then disband them and save up another couple $1,000, and so on and so forth. What that also means is that I haven't spent any money on any buildings anywhere. I feel like spending money on buildings is silly when you could instead spend money on increasing the rate of your expansion, right? Because building buildings increases your income, but only by about as much as taking provinces. And you have to stop taking provinces as soon as your manpower hits 0. But you don't have to stop taking provinces when you run out of money, because especially if you use cheapo troops and mercenaries to do all the fighting, you'll never run out of money. So I like this style better for desert nations like mine. I fabricated a single claim against each neighboring human, Ormuz and Baluchistan and Khorasan and Khiva and Timurids and Nogai and Shirvan. Problem is the Ottomans are allied to basically everyone around me. They're allied to Yemen, they're allied to Ormuz, they're allied to me, and they're allied to Shirvan. So I can't really expand anywhere but due east or Poland and Muscovy. So I'm going to gobble my way through Poland and Muscovy until the Ottomans get bored of that. And hopefully by the time they're bored of helping me, I will be strong enough to kill them, because I've never yet been able to keep the Ottomans allied to me all game long. My goal is just to keep them allied as long as I freaking can and let me catch up on tech. Now, I'm still only admin tech 5. I've caught up to Diplotech 9 and Military Tech 10, but comparing that to Great Britain, who's our little benchmark, they're 12, 11, 11. So I'm still not even good at fighting, let alone good at anything else. So, yeah, using all my admin to expand. That's just the way it has to be. And again, this game is called admin focused because I'm constantly admin focused. I've had a series of rather awful kings. This guy is only 9 years old and he's 121, and he's coming after a guy who is only 143. But what can you do? I tend to not even pay attention to the stats of my monarchs because there's no reliable way to get them killed. Like, you have to sacrifice like 20,000 manpower to suicide a monarch, and it's just not worth it in my mind. Power projection has stayed pretty high this game, even though it's been hard to keep rivals. The larger you get, the fewer people are valid rivals of you. After this war with Muscovy, I'll probably have a lot of power projection, but they'll probably no longer be a valid rival, and then who can I rival? I mean, it's just Poland. I don't know when Poland's going to form the Commonwealth, but I would guess soon. So that's it, man. We'll see you next time.